What's up, everybody? Welcome to Omnic Lab. We're on episode number 82. I'm your host, Rob May, coming in from the Rising Sun after dusk. And boy, do we have a lot of patch notes and a lot of updates to catch up on. Thankfully, last week when we had Beef Tipsy on, we were able to focus more on Widowmaker and less on patch notes. But let's go back down, all the way down to Georgia and see just how cold it is. Andres, what's up?
What's up? What's up? Yeah, it got really cold over here this week. My throat has been suffering from it, but hopefully it won't come in the way too much today. And yeah, we're back today to some updates about the game itself. There's been a lot of changes, a lot of announced changes as well, changes that the community has been asking for, and finally we've gotten some responses from Blizzard. So we're gonna be going through all of those, how might it affect the game, and talking to you about a couple other things.
Yeah, we're really excited to do this. I know that it kind of gets a little bit into the dross sometimes when people are just kind of like, oh, this is the news and this is what I think about it. So we're going to try to maybe not go with maybe our opinions so much as maybe what we can see coming out of the system and maybe some things that you want to be aware of when you're trying to climb or strategic kind of an influence into that. So without further ado, we're going to basically go into the intro here. We're going to try to basically circle back on any things that we missed from November 30th, which was basically just a quick bug fix on Moira and a slight update that we'll actually end up be covering in the December 12th patch notes later. Andres is going to probably highlight a few things that he learned from watching all of these OWL games. We'll give you a few updates on the recap here at the top of the show next. And then we're also going to cover a quick note on the PTR and Winter Wonderland, as well as Season 8 changes. So, Andres, why don't you do a quick update on where people can look at the recap and kind of what your experience was doing that marathon this last week?
Yeah, absolutely. So some of you might have noticed that we released a bunch of episodes recapping the Overwatch League preseason. They're up in the iTunes store. They're up in the website. We hosted all of them here in the Omnic Lab channel. I hope that for you guys that listened to them, you guys enjoyed them and got something out of them. If you did, let us know how you like those, because we're really looking for the feedback on it. We're trying to improve on them, especially once the real season hits. We really want to find a good groove on all of that. Also, we will be moving the recaps and those shows to a separate feed. We'll announce that pretty soon so you guys can follow everything over there. So we can have a little distinction. This still remain the strategy channel. And then we can have more of Overwatch League news and updates, results, all that stuff in the separate OWL recap channel. So stay looking for that. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be really cool. I'm really already having a lot of fun, even though it's a lot of work watching all of those games and, bringing you guys have 15-minute little recap about them. But looking forward to it, like I said, and stay tuned.
Yeah, I'm excited. I got to talk with Justin again to see if there's any way that I can help you guys out with some of the load. I know it's like a lot of stuff to be watching, so I'm going to see if there's any games that are especially easy for me over here when they have, I think it's the Saturday games. They have kind of that, it's either the Saturday or like the Friday night games. They're a little odd. Or maybe the Thursday night ones go really late. I might be able to pick those up on the VODs and help you guys out.
Yeah. It's cool that they set up the hours differently so different people from all over the world can kind of catch them at different times.
It'll be the real test because, like, now that, you and I are actually in separate countries, it is going to really be showing, like, is it really a feasible plan in this timetable where I can actually catch the games over here in Japan, So we'll kind of see how that goes.
Yeah, this is all an experiment, so we'll see how it goes.
Right? Yeah. So let's get into the news. So we have a quick little in-house thing for game night. Officially, we're going to announce it's on the 29th. We've been talking about potentially doing a 22nd one or 29th one, but the official thing where Andres and I are going to try to be there is the 29th. That doesn't mean that you can't come into the Discord and plan with people there to go hang out. If you want to run something, we have channels, we have the tools. You guys can be there. You can do your thing. You can even ask the mods and admins to help you out. That's more than fine. I might even be asking the mods and admins if they're interested in putting something together. Maybe you guys can message the ones that are going to be there for the 22nd and not the 29th and do something with them there. Moving forward, we also have an update from our partner, my man and yours, the Switch Fox, with Omnic Meta. He came out with a new console meta report that highlights a really big change in almost about between 23 and 25% of increase of use in Moira, and people like really love her on console now. But the pick rate of Mercy is still dominating as per usual in the lower and the upper ranks with how powerful Valkyrie continues to be. And that's just a quick highlight on the meta report, but it is the December 14th update that you guys are going to want to check out as you move forward for the consoles. Moving right along, we're going to go into just a quick update for Overwatch League is actually going to be instituting tokens so that you can purchase skins in the game. Now, Andres, I'll kick this over to you because I've been talking a while.
Sure. Yeah, as we all have known, they've announced that all of the uniforms are coming to the game itself. And you'll be able to purchase the uniforms themselves. I'm not exactly sure. Are they selling them individually or for a package? I'm not exactly sure. I know that you're gonna have to buy their specific currency, and that currency will be kind of like going specifically to the Overwatch League. So you're kind of like funding the league directly with your purchases,
Right.
which is pretty cool.
It's kind of weird though, right? Because like people are like, well, why are you doing it like this? And it's like, well, logistically, how they set up the tokens to go is that you buy neutral Overwatch League content tokens with real money to buy digital currency. And then you use that digital tokens for OWL within the game to buy OWL exclusive skins for each character that are home only, which means you're not buying the away ones, which are just the white skins, basically, with slight colors.
Are those not going to be available? Because some of the white ones look pretty cool.
They said explicitly home only. So you will not be getting any of the white skins. But the thing is, for reasoning, is that the currency is not going to go to team specific things because of how the teams have to buy in as a roster. So basically there's a big pool and then they take a big share of that and then they divvy it up based off of who's in the league. It's very similar to like how NFL merchandising works, except for sponsorships and stuff is going to be a little bit different. So I'm not quite sure how they're going to do that. If the sponsorships are going to translate to digital game, like are we going to have McDonald's brands on our Shanghai Dragons jerseys? I don't know.
I really hope not. They're already ugly enough in real life.
It will certainly help the league, but it will make the in-game jerseys that much more ugly. So I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe they'll just keep it strictly to the merchandise itself. But
it's such a necessary evil, at least for some of these teams, especially since, like you said, all of them have done such a significant investment already into the league.
But you also have the same thing like with basketball and NFL and
it's very common.
NHL. Like
NASCAR
those leagues
is probably
have
like
sponsors,
the most noticeable one.
Yeah, but they're not even like all over the jerseys like they are in esports today, right? They have like they're just the specific brand of the not like whatever. The brand of the NBA is Nike, so all the jerseys, all the shorts are the uniforms are all one thing, and they don't have like plastered, HyperX and I don't know. That's the only thing that came to mind.
Yeah, some family insurance of somewhere.
NVIDIA, family's insurance. Yikes.
But
let's keep going.
I think they're doing it the right way, like you said, with the pool. Because, all of these people have invested a lot of money into this. So it's good that even if maybe there's an unpopular team that's maybe not doing so good, that people are not buying that many of their skins, they're still going to see a share of that money. And they're still going to recoup some of that to keep the organization going. So it's a good thing.
It's funny because you're going to have those Houston fans that are buying Houston jerseys like, those darn Dallas are still getting a cut of my skin. But it is what it is. You're going to get a cut of all those international sales from Seoul and China as well. So keep it on the right path here. Let's move into let's talk about Season 8 changes. This is pretty interesting. Very, very relevant to what's going to be coming up. Andres and I have been thumbing through the updates and stuff that the game has been putting out, and we don't have an official end date and time for Season 7 yet, but we're kind of guesstimating around the 1st of January when the Winter Wonderland event ends is probably going to be pretty close to that date. But there is a limit on your SR with how. Sorry, not a limit on the SR. A limit on the
And the
performance
difference. The
SR.
difference.
So yes, the SR difference. That's what I was reading. Gosh, my brain is just not functioning. Sorry, guys. So limit on the max SR difference between the highest SR and lowest SR on your teammates. Now, this is primarily going to affect you if you're solo queuing or duo queuing with someone that is relatively very close to your SR. So we're talking like 100, 250 type of rating. And it will try to get you matched with somebody really close to your SR beyond that. And it's already rolled out a patch on November 30th that is affecting this.
The thing with this change, I think Scott Mercer has announced it, and he went into detail about all of this. They're gonna be testing a lot of this new stuff. So I think that they're going to be playing around with the limit on how far you can queue with people. Like if you are at diamond, right at diamond 3,000, let's say, you can queue with people at 2,000 or people at 3,500 because you can't queue people with masters and up if you're not high enough. But the difference between a person at 2,000 and at 3,000 is like way too much. So I think they're gonna be starting to test out with how the limits might influence that. So you might have to be a little bit closer, like 500 SR, like it is at the top rating, or they might even get super strict, like maybe 250. Is this too much? I think that they want to see how far they can take it, because it does throw the matchmaker for a loop when you queue up with this huge discrepancies, because no matter how much they try to balance it with numbers, you're gonna have two people that are just in two different worlds. You know what I mean? So I think they're testing with this stuff. Also, the most important part about his answer though, or his post, was removing personal SR adjustments for diamond tier players and above. And this is pretty huge, but I also think that is a funny change, because here we are rejoicing in Overwatch, like, yes, finally performance-based SR is going away. Yet we're seeing games like Heroes of the Storm where they're incorporating performance-based SR, and everyone over there is rejoicing too, like, oh yes, finally performance-based SR. I can play all the games, and if I do good, then I don't lose that much SR. If I do really poorly, I'll lose more SR. So maybe they're completely different games that like need different ratings and stuff. I don't doubt that, but
well, they're not removing it from Overwatch, right? Like that's just after you hit diamond,
after
you no
diamond,
longer get
yeah,
that
they're
anymore,
not completely removing it. But I mean, for the more competitive part of the ladder, they're basically removing it. So
for 10% of you out there, hey guys, you guys aren't going to be getting your performance-based SR after you hit diamond or decay into the bottom of diamond anymore.
And it's,
but
I don't know, it's like a give and take, right? Because
it's pure win rate. It's just like other games that are based on that, right?
Yeah, and the things that they plan to affect with this are things, for example, there are certain behaviors that are not very healthy. And I've experienced them in my games. Like you'll be in a game where you're doing okay, but suddenly things turn for like the worst, and you start losing, and somebody in your team will be like, "Oh, F it, I don't want to lose that much as in this game," and they swap to like a Doomfist or
Sombra or
yeah,
Doomfist
Sombra,
or
so,
Moira.
like some of the more obscure heroes that don't get played as much, because they knowingly know that the system will make him lose less SR if they perform badly on one of these not as highly performed heroes. Well, if you swap maybe
or
to
populated,
a soldier, or you swap to a Winston, a Mercy, some of the more popular ones that get a lot of high tier play, you tend to lose more SR if you lose on one of those heroes and perform badly. So it's kind of like a side effect of this system, but it's not a healthy behavior, right? Like technically you want your team to always be playing their best hero, whether they're losing or winning, not just swap to like a hero they're not good at because they want to lose less SR, because they basically given up on the game. It's not desired behavior. So I
It's the
think they're
same
trying to affect
scenario where
that.
you have players on your team that are refusing to adjust their play based off of the hero that they've picked. And this is not dipping into one trick territory, because the one trick type of a mentality is like not joining voice comms, not communicating with your team, picking a hero. This is what I'm going to play. This is what I'm best at. I'm going to stick on this hero, and you guys are going to have to play around it. And it's kind of like, I'm sorry, but this is my best thing, so you have to deal with it. But what this is doing is basically putting those type of players into a situation where it's easier and makes more sense for them to swap if the enemy team is getting really hard into them and countering them very, very hard. They're not going to be, they're not going to be continually gaining and losing more or less SR depending on how their performance is, even at the higher ranks. Once they get into the higher ranks, then they just need to win. Because this is a team-based game, you have to adjust to the game. You don't adjust to what you can do in the game. You have to adjust what your team can do in the game.
Yeah,
So
basically,
they're team orienting here.
yeah, it's an incentive to play for the team and not for yourself, right? Like, not to think about your individual SR, but more like, if we lose, we're gonna lose this amount. If we win, we're gonna win this amount. All of us together as a team. So it doesn't matter if I swap heroes, if I perform badly in this one or perform good in this one. If we lose, we lose.
If you need to climb, you got to get a positive win rate. You got to get 51% and play a lot, or you have to get like a 70% and play a little.
Yeah,
So,
hopefully, I do hope that this type of change will remove kind of like that SR boosting that was happening. Like, even though
mhm.
that's improved quite a bit for a while, it's not as bad
Yeah.
as it was before. I feel like they've addressed that already pretty good, but like I think this at least will remove the idea that you maybe can still do it from the rest of the population.
Yeah.
The idea that you can have a negative win rate with a character like Mercy or like Orisa and still climb.
Performs so well that you can fight the system at like
Yeah,
43%,
yeah, exactly.
So I want to highlight the flip side of this as well. Guys, most of you, like myself, are not in Diamond, and they did shine a little bit of light as to what the performance-based SR is looking to do when it is analyzing your play. So the first thing that it's going to do is that it's going to look if you have a higher than 50% chance to win that match, which means they're kind of sorting your group rating versus the enemy group rating, and you could be favors or unfavored going into that match. So you don't ever really see individual SR ratings unless you go into players' profiles and view them at their current moment. But you can see the group rating above each team and which team is going to be favored and which team is going to be the quote unquote underdog. So if you're the favored team, you're actually just going to gain less even if you win, and you're going to lose more if you lose because you're favored. But if you're also the underdog that's flip-flopped, you're going to win more SR if you win, and you're going to lose less SR if you lose. That's the first factor. The second factor is that new players are going to experience higher gains and higher losses than players that have competed with a lot of matches, because the system has kind of learned where you typically belong based off your current win rate and your process of performance.
When you're new, they're trying to place you, so the gains and the losses are a little more extreme.
The next is that you gain less SR for a win than when you lose for a defeat, as you more closely approach the system's mathematical upper limit of 5,000 SR. So this is actually in the GM range. The closer you get higher and higher in the 4,600, 4,700, 4,800, the higher you climb in that area, the much less SR you're gaining per win, because at that moment it's that it's all about the win rate when you get there. But now it might be different because it's going to be pure win rate to get to GM and get to Masters at all. So I don't know if they're adjusting this at all moving forward, but it sounds like this is going away. And the last is how well you performed personally in the game or match. If you perform well, you gain more SR when you win and lose SR when you lose. And the reverse is also true. So this is like really, really interesting because people take this last point as Bible for how you gain and lose SR. And if they feel like they're performing well and they're like, oh my goodness, I lost 35 rating. What the heck? Well, you could have lost the game you should have won because the team rating was like above 50 SR for whatever reason. The matchmaking rating didn't really matter on the performance side as much, but it mattered because you were not the underdog, you were the favored team and you lost. So you have all of these different factors that are at play, and this is something that I've noticed myself because there are games where I'm like even today, I won a game, I got a card at the end, I wasn't really monitoring what I was doing until the very end, and I out-healed our Ana on Zenyatta, and I knew that that's not normal. And we ended up winning the game, and I only gained like 19 SR. I was like, what the heck? I should be at like 2,700, and I'm at 2,480 or 2,471, and I gained like 19 SR. Well, maybe that's a game I actually got placed in because I needed to be winning that game, and we did win.
And
so
also,
in those moments, go ahead, Anders.
I was gonna say also you have to keep in mind the performance basis are is like what you said on the last one, a measurement of how well you personally perform during that match. But that measure sometimes has very specific
credentials,
or how much like reference points. That's what I'm trying to say. Like for example, for a hero like Zenyatta, total amount of healing done might not be one of the like the strongest thing. Yeah, like maybe for a hero like Mercy, that weighs a little bit more because they understand that for certain heroes, it's easier to heal like large amounts. For Zenyatta, unless you're getting your Transcendence all the time and like healing a massive amount, you're probably not gonna compete with one of those main healers like Ana or Mercy. So maybe they're weighing things like how often you build your Transcendence, right? How much uptime of your Discord orb you have on the enemy team.
Right.
How much
mentioned.
healing are you getting in your Transcendence, for example, but not maybe your personal orb? That could be all these factors.
Yeah, and Scott mentioned that, not necessarily that explicitly, but he said that this performance-based type of a system is something that they can't be too transparent about, even though the community is like, why can't you tell us what you're monitoring? Well, it's because people are just going to game it. So if they tell us what they're monitoring and what stats they're looking at, then you can just game the system and be like, oh, I'll just leave a Discord orb on the whole game. That's what they're going to monitor on my Zenyatta play, something like that. Or you go full Battle Mercy, something like that. So they're kind of like monitoring all these things.
I was gonna say, like, you're right. They're gonna like try to like cheat it because if people know exactly what these inflection points are, what are the things that will drive the SR gain or loss of your hero, then they will try to focus on those things. And sometimes that distracts from the original point, right? Like going back to the Zenyatta example, and all these examples are pure speculation, right? Like we don't actually know if this is how you gain SR, but it's just to like paint a picture. Let's say you know that Transcendence healing is one of the most important things to gain or lose SR. So maybe you'll start using Transcendence in times where you think you're going to get the most healing, but maybe not at times where you should be using Transcendence. Sometimes Transcendence needs to be used as a countermeasure, for example, right? Where like Genji uses his sword, you use Transcendence, and sometimes once he sees that, he just gets the hell out of there, right? Like you just don't.
And you don't get any value from your.
You don't get any value of the Transcendence, but that was the right play, right? Like when you did that, you saved the team fight. You didn't do that much healing, but you saved the team fight. But maybe as Zenyatta that's trying to get the most healing out of the Transcendence will not do that and choose to do the Transcendence maybe when his Winston overextended. The team is not even there. There's no chance of winning the team fight, but he's super hurt. And Zenyatta sees that huge empty health bar is just juicy heals. It's like, yes, SR, and pops Transcendence right there. So like, it's like that distortion of behavior that you don't want players who are trying to be super competitive, who are trying to play a team game, to be distracted by these like side effects kind of thing.
Yeah, just remember two things if you're trying to climb. Play the hero that you're most comfortable with, because that's ultimately what you're gonna do, regardless of what people say. Until you get to like very, very, very high SR, like even I would even venture to say in Masters, even then it doesn't really matter what the team comp is. Like stop worrying so much about 2-2-2s or 3-2-1s or whatever the comp is. Just run 5 DPS and a healer. If you're better, you're just gonna win. Like, that's just how it goes, right? So just remember, team composition is great and strategic if you're playing with your friends and it's good practice, but it's not the end all be all for SR. Die less, play safe, and if you're gonna go in and have the mindset of like trading kills, it's never really the best idea of going in. And last is just remember, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what goes on in the game if you win the game, because you're gaining something. If you're losing the game, you're losing SR. If you're winning the game, you're winning SR. So just keep that in mind. Like, that's the ultimate goal, regardless if the performance based or not.
Yeah. Winning as a team is going to be the ultimate goal for Diamond and Up, which is nice. Yes.
Right. So let's read the Scott Mercer kibosh here on the summary at the very end of this. This adjustment creates a lot of positive system-wide effects, including rewarding players who make the effort to play well, punishing inactive players, and more quickly providing fairer matches for new players that do decide to play new heroes or a role. So he spent quite a lot of time examining data over multiple seasons and checking lots of math, reading a lot of community feedback, and doing some deep soul searching about this, especially at the higher levels of online competition where every point of SR matters. We want to make sure players are not distracted and worry about how to optimize around personal performance adjusting. They should just be trying to win. So after we get back from the holidays, January 2nd, we're going to turn off the personal performance SR adjustments for players in the Diamond skill tier and above.
Happening soon.
So let's get into something more fun. Let's get into Winter Wonderland 2017. So this year we kicked off the Winter Wonderland on December 12th. It's going to close on the 1st of January, likely because of the New Year celebration is my guess. And I'm not quite sure, but my hunch is they're going to be pairing the New Year celebration alongside of the new standard loot boxes and Blizzard World, maybe. Maybe we'll be lucky. But in this event, we got 7 new skins, we got 2 new emotes, and we got 1 new victory pose for Reinhardt. And yeah, Andres, what do you think of this stuff? Anything to stand out?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I like some of the skins. I thought they were like less skins than they actually are, but maybe it's because a lot of the skins are for characters that I don't play too much, like Hanzo or Sombra and stuff. But the soldier skin is really cool. I like that winter soldier kind of thing, and also the Roadhog, the little walrus dude. He looks pretty cool.
The ice fisherman.
Yeah, ice fisherman. Yeah, I like.
There's
those
so
too.
much detail in that one skin. Like the ice fisherman one, just look at that. There's so many Easter eggs. Like, his take a breather is a pack of tuna. Like his hook is a fishing hook. The shoulder pad is like a skeleton structure of like a giant piranha. His mustache looks like a walrus. He's got fish in the back of a barrel on his back. I mean, there's so many little things that they put in detail on there. But I have to say, I know that there's not a lot of people that are super big fans of this, but I love the Ana skin, the winter owl.
Oh, the owl?
Yeah,
the owl looks really cool. I agree.
That's
I like
so
the owl
good.
too.
I bought it today, so I'm super hyped.
I haven't gotten, I think, any of the skins so far. I need to open some loot boxes, actually.
Yeah, I went ahead and pulled the trigger on 24 loot boxes because I had a ton of them from last year. So I feel like if you have a good base of stuff that you got from last year, you don't really need to work on it too much. And then I completed my weekly brawls and stuff in arcade to get all of the boxes that way. But I'm finally back into playing. I actually have a scheduled moment for coaching with my buddies over at Wawa's Bootcamp. Shout out to Fu. He's going to help me with some of my Zenyatta play because I dropped into gold and I need to. I think I blame Destiny. So, Destiny, you screwed my muscle memory, so I'm coming back to you, Overwatch, my first love.
I can attest, though, that first week when I was playing a ton of Destiny and then I came back to Overwatch, I was like
bad.
super woozy. I was like, whoa, my aim feels like rubber right now. I totally
it's so
agree.
Snappy. Yeah. Overwatch feels way snappier, so it's like hard to get to adjusting.
Yeah, I think that was the problem. Like in Destiny, it's a little more like
floaty.
Smooth, floaty kind of thing, slow. Yeah, and then when you come back with Overwatch, you're not used to that snappiness again. So it's like you feel like you're all over the place. I don't know.
Yeah, I
Maybe
had
it's
to
just
turn my
me.
sensitivity back up just so I could like push myself. Okay, you got to move, you know. But after that beef tipsy episode, I got really motivated. So I'm gonna actually go back in and I need to do some scope adjusting on my Ana to make sure I can do that 38 to get my Ana scope back on par because I think it's not quite 38. I think it's like 34 or something.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it seems good. The new stuff is also really cool. There is a legendary Orisa emote where a puppy comes out of a box and it is absolutely adorable. And it is the item to get. So you guys are gonna want that little puggle.
Papyrissa, that's awesome.
Puppy Orisa.
Talking about
It's awesome.
Biff Tipsy, we were playing last night with a group of podcasters. We built like
Oh jeez.
the Avengers of podcasting for competitive. We went in with the Blevins, Blazing Bob, Mel, Death Blow, and there was somebody else. He was one of the listeners.
How are you all in the same rank area? You guys are all over the place.
Well,
You're
we
on Smurfs.
some of us were playing on our Smurfs, but my Smurf is at like diamond. So like I think our lowest one was like 2200. I think it was Blevins who hadn't played in forever. But it was really fun, and at one point I got to
He's
play.
been so busy lately with scheduling interviews.
Yeah, he has. At one point, I got to play Widowmaker. I think I made Biff Tipsy proud. If you guys get a chance, go check out that game. It was or Hollywood game yesterday. I got some good headshots there. I was like, yes, the going deep
Nice.
worked.
It's happening. Yeah, I'm excited as well. I actually got some really exciting news this week that I'll highlight when we get down to Patreon, but maybe I'll remember to do that. But there's also a few new things with this Winter Wonderland is actually that there's a patch that paired with it. So if you guys are curious what's coming with this new patch is a new arcade, the return of Maze Snowball, the Yeti Hunter game mode is actually really fun. It's not really competitive. It's a little different than the other type of things like with free for all and all of the other things that they're like highly competitive. This is much more of a fun type of a feel, not something you can really play a whole lot and just grind out. And but there's a new player warning update. So let's get into this, Andres. Let's get into the meat and potatoes here because this is really interesting. If you guys remember way back when we had our interview with Scott himself, he talked about that they really wanted to get a in-game feature for a lot of things. He talked about VOD reviews being a big thing in the community and wanted to have some sort of a player replay feature. But with what we heard from Jeff Kaplan and some of the developer updates, that a lot of their internal development of a lot of the items has actually ended up becoming dedicated towards player toxicity and balance for reporting systems and more overhauled. And so they finally seem to have finished up with this system by fully integrating all of the response and reporting system inside of the game so that when you report somebody, that person will then receive an in-game message letting them know that they're reported along with a warning that concerning their continued negative behavior. And then players who report someone for poor behavior in which that report results in disciplinary action now are notified in the game and not just via email of when that thing has been resolved. So this is a really great feature, something that a lot of other games are doing right now. I know League of Legends has this, and Overwatch now is able to have some feedback. And I have an undisclosed source that since they rolled this out, there has actually been a very large pass of player permabans for account boosting and deranking.
Interesting.
Across all regions. And it was not a small number from what they told me, but I don't know how much I'm actually allowed to say because it was in a locked channel. So I'll just let you guys know. I do know that there was a big pass of people that got permabanned. And they are all in the camp of deranking. So don't derank. Play your games.
Cracking down.
Yeah, and especially the Season 8 thing when pure win rate comes in, I feel like this is going to stifle a lot of people having multiple accounts because of maintaining against decay and having a positive win rate is going to be something that you have to continue to play on one account over and over and over again. And the decayed accounts will then be not for boosting, but for playing with like your buddies that are at a lower rank instead of like, hey, I'm going to have like 5 slots of the top 500 because I'm that good, you know?
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Definitely a lot of quality of life changes. The change in you be able to see when somebody gets actioned or when so when somebody reports you. I think that's a really great change because it helps restore a little bit of faith in the system. Because even if the system was working okay in the past, you just had
Hmm.
no feedback from it. You just couldn't know if the player reported got banned or if even they like got your report or anything like that, right? But at least now the system lets you know, like, hey, your
Yeah.
reporting worked. Somebody got banned.
I wonder if there's going to be something in the system, maybe not now, but in the future for people that are abusing the reporting system, similar to what we got news a couple weeks back where somebody got um it was like a 3-day ban or something like that, or a 24-hour ban for just reporting people that they didn't like for like, oh, they picked
Uh,
Torb, you know,
yeah, I remember
because
that.
people are trying to abuse the system, just reporting anything that moves, or somebody's like really good at Widowmaker, like, oh, he's a bot, aim bot, I'm just gonna report him.
Well, that's another part of the system abuse, right? So hopefully they have some ways to identify that. If somebody is really abusing the
Mm-hmm.
system like that, then yeah, they should also get a ban. Ideally, once the system has been in place and enough people have tried messing with it and gotten banned because of it, um, everyone's behavior will be more in line, and hopefully it'll
Yeah.
make for a cleaner matchmaker. Because things like boosting, for example, those things are one of the things that throw the matchmaker off the most
Mm-hmm.
because you have like these accounts that shouldn't be together at such low elos because one of the players plays so high, and like how do you balance at that point, you know what I mean, if the person who is playing
Right.
their numbers are lying.
I feel like I'm just so much more excited for this next season of Overwatch than y- weeks past and months past of game seasons, just because now that the reporting system has been majorly overhauled, updated, and integrated for in-game response, and they're removing performance-based SR from the upper tiers of play alongside of OWL's first season of kickoff. I feel like the rest of the things that are coming into the game are now no longer like something that is like holding Blizzard down. You know what I mean? Like holding their developmental team down with creating systems of things just so that the game isn't like feeling terrible to interact with other players. They're actually like putting in guardrails, which should have been in place in the first place, but that's besides the point. But now they're
Well,
like able to like make the game better, and then they can start rolling out features that we're actually wanting, like the in-game reviews or stat tracking that we talked about months ago that they really wanted to integrate.
yeah, and I was gonna say you're right. Hopefully the systems would have been in place from the start, but I think that sometimes you have to go through the experience to know what truly your game needs, right? Like
Sure.
it's not so obvious from the beginning. Like, oh, you should have put this thing from the beginning, Blizzard. Duh. It's more like, we also need to see how our community reacts to things, how they
Mm-hmm.
do they get along with each other or not, like where do we need to implement these systems. And I think that at this point the places are obvious. So yeah, at this
Yeah,
point it seems like hindsight, but I think we needed
it does happen.
some time. Yeah.
There's also another quality of life change that's been added to the gallery. So if you go into your hero gallery to go view your stuff and you are really sick of checking, oh, I saw this item, it's new, I don't want to see that new button anymore, you can hit the mark all as seen button at the top right that is now into the game, which is a great quality of life change for those of you that are OCD and don't like seeing the new button on everything. So let's move on to bug fixes galore. There's a lot of these. So I'm going to run through these and have Andres talk about them and what he thinks, and maybe I'll rebut or respond. So here we go. Doomfist. This is actually phase 1 because there's even more Doomfist stuff that's in the PTR that they're working on and or not on the PTR that they're working on. There was a bug that's fixed that allows a Doomfist now to punch and destroy objects. Doomfist's rocket punch is now able to deal damage when an enemy hits a wall. So this is a really weird like angle thing where sometimes they wouldn't take damage. There is also a bug that caused Doomfist's rocket punch not always stopping an enemy's movement when they impacted a wall. It just like have them like slide off of it. So this is kind of related. But that was fixed. There's also one fixed for Seismic Slam. when it was unable to reach a targeted location, generally like when you're not in the air, and sometimes it would just bug out, as well as when it triggers instantly when the ability was used to travel up an incline. So you'll actually have a slight like movement instead of just like using it on the ground in front of you. And then the last Seismic Slam bug fix was to create performance drops when repeatedly using things with no cooldown.
Oh, I think this is more
How's
for like
that?
custom games and
It's
stuff.
custom
Like
game.
yeah, if
bug.
you remove the
Yeah.
cooldown from Seismic Slam, then like your game would drop FPSs, I think.
Yep. So any of these things that you've noticed, have you seen some Doomfist in your comp games? Because
I
a lot of these
actually
changes
have
basically
seen,
feel
yeah.
really good.
Yeah, I actually have seen a lot more Doomfist, and some of them have been pretty lethal against me. Actually, I must admit, since the patch came out, not only have I seen more Doomfist, he seems like so much more consistent. I don't know. At least he's killed me a lot more often than he did before. I couldn't like weirdly juke him like while he was like aiming at me. Like once he's aiming at you, it feels like you're threatened. You know what I mean? Like, oh, holy crap, I better get the hell out of here because things are going to
It's
get
a good
nasty.
diva check. It's a good diva check.
Yeah, he is. And honestly, he is so mobile that he's able to dive with like your Winston, with your Genji, with your Tracer. So he's actually really nasty. When you're in McCree, for example, if they're playing it right and they wait for your flashbang to go down or they dive you with a Winston, it's like, oh man. Because
It's really rough.
the little pull-in thing is like so deadly against McCree. Once he pulls you in, he will
With the
surely
slam.
yeah, he will surely like punch you unless you have your flashbang.
Once you slam, then you punch. All right. The next bug is Maybug. So I don't think this was a 100% consistent bug. This is a, on case by case, but sometimes May's cryo freeze, when she would ice block, would not always clear the debuff caused by Anna's biotic grenade, which was a more recent change. And so I guess after that change rolled out, there was a few bugs that occasionally would not clear it. So now it should clear the debuff from the Anna grenade and also heal you. I believe this was more of a display bug, believe it or not. So it would remove the debuff, but it wouldn't heal you. It would just like the debuff would still be applied, but the purple bar would be gone. It would be really weird.
It's weird. Yeah.
I had this happen to me against me actually in game night a couple of weeks ago. So I'm glad they fixed this. Mercy's the next one up. She has a bug fix that allows her fixed a bug that showed Mercy's guardian angel to target a UI to display on her allies while it was already in progress when you selected something and the cooldown was going. So generally speaking, when you play Mercy, guardian angel lets you jump to targets. The GA targets would actually disappear when you use your GA and allow you to target people. So what they're doing now is they are fixing that so that you can't target them when your GA is down. I believe that's how this reads.
I don't play a lot of Mercy, so I don't think I've seen that happen.
Targeting UI and allies while it was already in progress. Yes. Okay, while it's already in progress on a specific target that you're already targeting. So what happened was the UI would stay up when you're using the ability to go from point A to point B instead of dissipating.
Oh, gotcha.
Usually it's a quality of life thing, so you have maximum vision while you're flying to someone, and then the UI would pop back up when you've used the ability.
Oh, gotcha.
Even if it was on cooldown. Okay. Fixed a bug that allowed Mercy players to cast Resurrect on a player that was in the process of being resurrected by another Mercy. This is a custom game issue. So I just thought it was funny. It's like, you want to res? I want to res. So
what if it brought two people, like a clone and the other person?
A double?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Well, the rest of these are really, really big because there's a lot of issues with Moira that when she was rolled out that were not bug fixed. So allowing Moira's biotic orb to go through terrain, through structures, fixed an issue that prevented players from using Moira's orb regeneration when the primary fire was disabled. This is a super weird interaction. Visual bug where her orb would sometimes cause the grasp healing spray effects to display wrong. So when you're doing your damage, like the healing spray would come out. It was a super weird display bug. Her ultimate would sometimes prevent it from healing an allied Reaper when he's in Wraith form, which is a super odd interaction. Moira would sometimes not be able to pass through enemies when using Fade, so now you can actually go through enemies. There's no
That
body
is nice.
blocking. That's one of the biggest changes. There is another one that her eyelashes were detaching from her face when she used her heroic highlight intro.
Oh no!
I only included this because I thought it was funny because it looked really weird.
That seems like a horrible bug. Poor Moira.
Moira's turned into the bug, let me tell you, because that was some frightening shenanigans going on. But the last one here is that prevented Moira's self-healing statistic from being collected and displayed on in-game stats. Well, that's basically it. There are numerous more bug fixes, but these are the numerous ones that I decided to include, and also included a link for you guys to check out. Andres, what do you think about these Moira changes? I know that they're still working on a few things. I believe they patched it where you can actually start destroying objects too, but they didn't really mention it with Moira, where you couldn't like use your primary fire against Torbjorn turrets. Now you should be able to kill them.
Oh, thank God, because that was my one gripe. Like her little
That and Junkrat
beam,
traps.
yeah, the little beam kind of thing. It was super clunky with like those type of objects. Like, how are you not gonna be able to hit a Torbjorn turret? Yeah, I remember that in one of my first games with Moira, I was like hit on with a Torbjorn turret that was like literally 2 hits from being dead. And I kept trying to target it. It would just not connect. I'd be like,
you have to walk up and melee
it. Yeah, but while I was walking up to it, I died. And I felt so silly. Yep. I was like, how? Because I wasn't expecting not to be able to damage it. And like, that is definitely an oversight right there. Not being able to damage traps or turrets or Symmetra turrets are like the same thing. It's like, come on, dude.
It had a really weird targeting thing where you could kill the Symmetra ones, but you couldn't kill the targeted, or you couldn't kill Symmetra's teleporter with your primary fire. Or
and
the
Moira
shield
is actually a decent hero to like look out for it in the middle of the fight if you really need to.
Don't have ammo.
She's not the she's not the best one to do it, but like in a pinch she can do it.
She also doesn't have ammo, so you don't have to like reload between shooting the thing. You just like just laser beam it.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah. All right. Well, let's go into some of the highlights that you had from your Overwatch League experience and more of the strategic area. What did you see, Andres? Because I haven't actually had a chance to look through these. We had a ginormous Hearthstone patch that had came out and new cards and stuff. So I've been doing a lot of prep work on another show. But I haven't really gotten a chance to watch Overwatch League with trying to play Overwatch instead. But what do you think? What's been going on over there?
Yeah, the Overwatch League kicked off it had a great start, at least in my eyes. It was a lot of games. I definitely agree. Like if you wanted to watch all of them, it will take you at least like a good day or two of just sitting down and excuse me. Ooh, sorry. Now that we're reaching the hour, my throat is like really like ooh. But yeah, just great games overall. It's a lot of content. So we were talking about that yesterday in our show. Like if you want to watch all of them, you're gonna have to be like a diehard fan. For the average viewer, you're gonna have to pick a team or two and kind of just like concentrate on watching those games. Because trust me, it'll be enough just watching one team. You'll have at least 2 hours of content every other day to watch. And just in general, it's really interesting watching strategy-wise, watching these teams come together. I think not all the teams are on the same page, but we are seeing a lot of really strong teams, which means that the bar is getting raised. And now that we got teams like Seoul Dynasty, which are basically the top Korean guys, playing here in U.S. soil with other Americans, other Europeans, people from all over the world. Like these people are going to be playing together for so long that just the Overwatch standard of strategy is gonna develop that much quicker, in my opinion. And we can already see certain trends starting to emerge. For example, in the maps, I think that a lot of people were already speculating this, but there's going to be kind of a map meta depending on the map that you're in. And each team will bring like their own variances, and sometimes team will bring like crazy strategies to these maps. But for the most part, I think we saw a lot of the top teams in the preseason stick to a certain trend in strategies. For example, in Junkertown, the protect the president is kind of becoming very iconic, at least in those first 2 points. Just try to like carry the payload with the bastion for as long as you can.
Huh.
And then we saw some variances from it. For example, certain teams would bring like a Widowmaker and a Genji to try to help out. But then you got like Seoul Dynasty, and I believe it was London Spitfire, who actually brought a double sniper, a Widowmaker, and a Hanzo on that first map. And it worked so well because when you think about the map in that first point is super open. It has super long sight lines. The end, once you're nearing the point, there's almost no cover that you can hide behind unless you're like really far away.
Nightmare for Zenyatta's.
Yeah, so snipers actually work really well, and as long as you have the rest of your team kind of like cluttered it up with your bastion and just protecting him, your snipers can do a ton of work. And you could see like both snipers would be on opposite ends of the payload, just kind of like keeping all the sight lines and keeping a ton of pressure. And while the enemy team would try to focus on the bastion, you had these amazing Widowmakers just jumping from the side and like headshotting people and like carrying it forward. So overall, just really interesting strategies. We saw a bunch of them too in Horizon Lunar Colony. And the interesting part is that these teams are playing the same maps over and over, at least per stage of the season. So you actually get to see a lot of developed like innovation on these maps, or like what teams are striving for. And I'm really looking forward, like once we have like an established kind of like standard, like, oh yeah, in this map you usually see them play the Protect the President. In this one you usually see them play a triple tank. In this one, this team likes playing triple DPS, and you kind of start getting like a gauge for like each segment of the map. Like this is what certain teams like playing. And then the innovation in that, right? Like, because once that becomes the standard, you'll have these teams knowing that they're going like up against the standard. So how do you break that? How do you move the meta forward? So I'm really looking forward to this. And actually, for Omnic Lab, it's great news because it's very digestible and it's really easy to see these trends, analyze these trends. So I'm looking forward to once the league starts and we get some more games going on, being able to dissect some of these strategies that the teams are doing, especially the ones that are getting like a little bit more popular, because all of them have their nuances and stuff. So really cool stuff coming from the league. Have you had any chance to catch any of the games, or you're basically being slammed?
I actually haven't even seen a single match. Like I've just been like just nutty, and I couldn't watch any of them live. They were all awful time zones for me.
That's all good
for whatever is going on.
Then for you and for the listeners who haven't had a chance to catch any of the games, I definitely recommend you catch any of the Outlaws games. Those guys, even though they didn't win a single game, they played so incredibly well, and they challenged the other teams like no other.
They went the bottom of the barrel. They were 0-3.
They lost all of their matches, but their matches were against Seoul Dynasty, arguably the best team in the league right now.
They played Dallas, right?
And Dallas Fuel are arguably another one of the top teams right now. And it's not like they just lost.
Who's
like,
the third game?
Who's
they
the
only
third?
played 2 in preseason.
I believe they only played 2 games in the preseason. Yeah.
They only played 2 games? Oh, it was the couple teams that were filling in for Philly that played 3, right?
Shock
like
played 3. Yeah. But I believe like the rest of the teams only got to play 2 games, because it was only each team got to play once, 2 different days, basically.
Huh. Okay. Well, that makes a lot of explaining. I know that you guys broke down a little bit of it, like on the recap, and Ajax had some really, really good points that he was mentioning about like certain things that were like unfun to watch when, you know, Bastion and Orisa are a thing, because it's just like it's so like linear. It's not really strategic, you know. And then he also was talking about how niche focus that Moira is, and he's like commenting on how he didn't like her, but also the existence of her in the game is also really good.
Mm-hmm.
So I really like that kind of a mentality when you're going and analyzing heroes and pick rates and stuff. because you can't always print or not. What am I saying? Printing. I'm going in Hearthstone language again. You can't always design heroes that are placed in a tracer vacuum, right?
Yeah.
Or a soldier vacuum. Like these heroes are good under any circumstance. You cannot make every hero in Overwatch that way, or the game would cease to be interesting. So I think, like we've seen since Sombra released, every hero since Sombra we released has been some form of niche. Like Orisa,
you have to.
Sombra, Moira. Yeah, you have to.
Yeah, at this point, it's all about adding heroes that can take your gameplay in different directions, right? Not heroes that can do a little bit of everything, like Soldier, because we already have Soldier. Why would you want another hero that can do a little bit of everything, be good at every range? Like, he's the bread and butter character. Now, we need heroes that can push your strategy in certain directions, like Mora. She's a very snowbally, very omnidirectional hero, right? Like your orbs, you
death
throw
ball
in
type style.
yeah, you throw in a certain direction and they're gone, and you're hoping that your allies stay in that direction. Same with your ult. You're ulting in like a very specific point, and you're hoping that
She's
everyone's
like a
kind of funneled.
commitment-based support.
Yeah, so it's a support that in that kind of situation when you need to spearhead a push that is very like linear in a sense kind of thing. She excels in that type of environment. She is great in like small hallways, protecting heroes that can have a big front line like Reinhardt and can on top of it move it forward. She just enhances that sort of gameplay. Same with like Sombra. She enhances a certain type of strategy, but it's not like an obvious one, right? Like you have to kind of like direct your team to play around those certain things.
They're also building them kind of around maps as well. Like how do you utilize a map better? Like 2CP, it's like, well, Sombra's queen of that, you know, and like holding certain points like 0.2 on defense or 0.1 on defense of 2CP, like Orisa's really good at that, or certain things those heroes highlight. And you know, it actually speaks more to the good design on the overall round, like Mario type characters that are just good at everything, a little bit jack of all trades type characters like Tracer, like Soldier, where the fact that they have been relevant as a consideration in almost every meta that we've been seeing, as something that you can integrate into a team composition, even though they are the quote unquote boring hero or the standard hero, right? Because if you keep making nuanced characters or niche characters or things that highlight certain aspects of the game, and then the all-round jack of all trades characters are irrelevant, it's really, really difficult to play them. You know, like the power of a jack of all trades character should be their flexibility. And you really do see that with Soldier. Like he's great when you want to run Sombra, because then you get the little bit of the heal with him, you get the mobility. He's not terrible with like protecting your supports. He's great at also pushing in because he's speed. And then you're also seeing characters like Soldier and Roadhog work well together as well, because they have the adjustment of their own healing. So I think that as we move forward in the Overwatch League, it's important to understand that a lot of the strategies that they're pushing forward there can also be informed as we analyze things on the ladder. Because some of these strategies are so good on certain heroes that they're just not even relevant in a circumstance where you have to trust 5 other strangers that you just met in a ranked ladder system.
I think it's like a trickle down system in a way. I think that as the pro scene becomes more developed, and not only more developed but more known, like I think a lot of these tournaments are, you know, a lot of people watch them, but hopefully what the Overwatch League will do is that it will bring it to a broader audience, and then a broader audience can actually see these strategies and how they actually work together from just watching like pro games and being like, oh, that's how you move with a Reinhardt, or oh, that's where you hold as a team, and that's how you back down when you lose somebody. That's how you come back in. And I think that in some of my games, I can already tell that some of the people have adopted some of the behaviors from the Overwatch League preseason. I can see some players playing Winston, like some of these guys were playing Winston. I can see people trying to do the protect the president strategy on Junkertown.
Yeah, people letting you play Bastion is just a foreign thing, right?
Granted, it doesn't always work, but the more that people do them, the more that even like the lower elos will like adapt these strategies and become like decent at them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then you also, like you said, like per map, you're starting to see like certain niches, certain heroes kind of like go up. Like a good example was in Temple of Anubis is becoming Reaper territory. At least in the preseason,
He's so good.
you could see teams just pulling Reaper all the time on Temple of Anubis, and they wouldn't do it in any other map, but just in Temple of Anubis, like that Reaper pick was so strong. And I think it was London Spitfire, Dream Casper. If you guys get to catch, I think it was a game against Dallas Fuel. If you guys get to catch that one, that's a clinic on how to use Reaper on that map. He killed it, and like it makes sense because the map is so kind of like condensed. There's so many pillars and little pathways, especially on point number 2, that Reaper is almost like tailor made to fight in that map. Anyone falls into that little ravine under the bridge with the health pack, and you're there,
Ooh, we do not want
and
to fight a Reaper down there.
you are taking that person down like almost 90% of the time. He's just
Even
a
if they
really
get the
strong
health
hero.
pack.
Yeah, even if they get the
Because you
health
have
pack.
lifesteal.
And
Like
you're
every
de-
shot, you're just reaping a lot of it back because you're able to you just sustain through so much, especially if it's a tank,
and your
and
damage
you're
is so high
not letting
at
them
close
dive on you
range.
quickly either. With
Yeah,
Winston and Diva, you're just
yeah.
removing them entirely from the fight.
And the map basically screams at you like deal damage at close range. Especially on that second point is close
Did
range,
they pair
close
him with
range,
a
close
Junkrat
range.
or
I
a
think they
soldier or
paired him a
something?
couple of different things. I think it was a tracer that they had with him. One of the best plays was in point 1 actually though. He you know, like in that first point of Temple of Anubis, where there's a little house with a small health pack to the left.
On the right,
Um, like
offense right, defense left.
if you're starting as an attacker going into the point, there's like a house on the left of the point with a small little health pack on point 1, where usually Widowmakers will perch on the top and try to snipe you from
Oh
there.
yeah. The health pack
Yeah,
room on
yeah,
the point left of the point.
yeah.
Yeah.
He pushes with his team into that little house, and they're basically trapped because the other team is all on the high ground and is basically just shooting at them from there. And like, thankfully, I think they have a Ryan, so they're kind of like semi-protected in there, but they're ambushed. It's like they're just gonna die. And Dream Casper with Reaper, he just teleports to like this little edge on the side of them, and the whole entire enemy team doesn't see him or hears him. They're just so focused on like shooting at them, and then he just does like this amazing flank, takes down like 3 people. They cap the point and then rush point 2, and like that Reaper just like killed at that map.
That's awesome. You know that they're practicing that sort of thing.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I'm actually really excited to see May come into more games because of how powerful I've seen just even in my ranked games or in game nights where we have relatively even teams. Like throwing May on point 2 defense on Hanamura is so strong. Like you're able to just wall off this certain point. Even if they get Volskaya point 2 May is just a force to be reckoned with. You can stall that point so long. It's like reminiscent of when there was no hero limit where you could pick like 4 divas and just rush the point until the mechs died and just stall out until they hit 0 like for days. It was just awful. But yeah, I think that's going to be a good way to finish off our Overwatch League discussion. You'll have to look forward to also the Omnic Lab and OWL recap of sharing guests occasionally because of a lot of the touch points are going to be shared. But hopefully the topics and the interviews will be different when we get them on our show versus on the recap. The recap will be more Overwatch League focused. The Omnic Lab will be more strategic focused for teaching and helping, although there will be a little bit of overlap, of course.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of an update, too, for how to support us. The first thing is iTunes reviews. iTunes reviews are great for the show. They give us traffic, and we got 2 new USA iTunes reviews from eSilver24 and Benny31182. Thank you guys so much for reviewing the show. If you guys want to support us and do it for free, the best way to do it is joining iTunes and signing in with a 5-star iTunes review. I have been still seeing the ticker go up with 5-star iTunes reviews, even if they're anonymous. We can't always give you credit unless you write something, but we do appreciate you. So thank you for those. And Patreon. So Patreon, how about that? There's been, for those of you that are in the know what Patreon is going on, they recently did a huge change and then revoked that change, and it's been in the news. Like, people are like going crazy even if they're not patrons on what the change is. But it was a good intent on something to do with zero communication towards creators and supporters, and it's been a mess. So we've been affected, and more so than other folks because of the per content style of our production and how you can support us. But we will tell you as much as we can the things that we're changing and updating. And we had a good talks with some of you in the Patreon channel. Please communicate with us. Use all the channels that you need to let us know what's going on with Patreon, because we want to make sure that we're providing stuff for you. If we drop a VOD review through the cracks on our email, just send us another email. Make sure we get it. We'll respond. Andres has been corresponding back and forth with people, obviously, as best we can. But we really, really appreciate you guys supporting us, especially as we move forward. Frankly, I can't speak for Andres, but I know that I'm still paying off stuff with BlizzCon. It is something that I'm actively using on behalf of the show. And I just upgraded my interface, and that's also on the credit card to be paid off. So thank you guys so much for your support. It's really, really great. We even got people that don't support us on Patreon that are helping us out with deals and trying to hook us up with some Guitar Center type gig. I know Andres has been talking about wanting to hook me up with some things, and we're working on that with international sale. But I just wanted to give you guys a little bit more of a transparency update this time. When we don't normally spend a whole lot of time on Patreon during the show, but we really appreciate you guys. And we know that you guys spend your hard-earned time and money on us. And it is deeply, deeply appreciated, to the point that we use it for the show to make it better. So without further ado, Andres, why don't you thank our Diamond patrons and our new patrons of the week?
Yeah. As always, thanks a lot to Chris the Playa, Ginger Sasquatch, Good Apollo, Great Root Bear, Lysum, Magic, Matt R., Not Muad'Dib, Ricky Ticky, Sketchy Nonsense Podcast, Silverback, and Tragic Zach. And this week we got 2 new patrons, Alex B., who upped their pledge, and also Aaron B. Special shout out to Aaron, who is not only donating to the show, he's also helping me on the side. Aaron's a great health coach, and he's kind of helping me get back in shape, because I've been a little bit too sedentary, making too much content, making too many podcasts, talking to the mic, sitting in the chair, playing Overwatch, and you gotta take care of the body as well. So thanks a lot, Aaron, for the little help over there. You've been a great guy with that. And that'll
off the
do
fast
it.
track from Roadhog and onto the track to looking like Doomfist.
Exactly.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for supporting the show. There's one more new way that we always try to remember to highlight, which is Twitch affiliates. We are Twitch streamers. We have affiliates. Andres goes and streams on here. I've streamed a couple times on Destiny. Anytime there's a shooter going on, I'm streaming here. Anytime it's Hearthstone, I stream on my other accounts. So please subscribe to the channel. Use the Twitch. We got a Twitch emote that I've designed that I need to update still. It's the Omnic Lab hype emote. We're hoping to get more viewers and stuff to get out of the Twitch affiliate program and into partnerships, so we can create some fun things. I know that there's some, I can't remember what the Andres emote that they wanted. Maybe it was like Andres Thump, where you're like crying and you're like, no. And then I know that Yan suggested Rob Champ. I thought that was really funny. So
I think I'm making enough faces on stream
stuff
that we could get some good memes out of there.
Yeah, we could get some good stuff. So anyways, that's also at your disposal. If you guys want to find the show, we're on Twitter, Omnic Lab. We're on the website, omniclab.com/links. You can find everything. If you want to join our community is extremely big. Don't get lost. People are very welcoming. We got lots of people chatting every day. You can always join in for the game night that's coming up on the 29th, but that is at discord.me/omniclab.
And one thing before we close, some people in the Discord were asking, what's the best way to find other people to group up with? And sometimes during the week, if you just randomly ask in the Discord if you want to group up, you won't have that much success, since nobody's kind of expecting it. But game nights, those are probably the best place to make some friends that you can queue up with and keep playing Overwatch for a long time. Because if your friend list is looking a little barren, a little lonely, just come to one game night and I promise you, you'll have
You'll
like
fill it.
30
Yeah.
new friends. Like you won't feel alone anymore.
Try to add people on your friends list, ask around, see who's in your rank, and try to grab them. And we also, this is not exclusive to PC, folks. I just want to keep highlighting that. You console guys, not the plebs. I promise. We have people that in your neighborhood, they can hook you up. So please don't feel ostracized that way. We have our mods and admins that we would more than welcome to point you to if you guys want to find a good place to group up. And thank you to Orion, one of our patrons, for highlighting this to us. We wanted to make sure that people understand that the LFG channels, while that's something you can do, they're typically more for discussion. And if you want to group up, because Overwatch and Omnic Labs Discord are separate entities, usually want to start grabbing people from the Discord and just ask for people's gamer tags. Hey, are you in this rank? Hey, that's nice talking to you. Let me add you to my friends list so we can play later. And then that's typically how people start the ball rolling. And that normally starts in game nights when everyone's forced to be on the same friends list in order to play the games. So let's keep going with that. Andres, where can people find you on the interwebs outside of Omnic Lab things?
If you personally want to find me, you can find me on Twitter at iPlayGames. You can also find my music blog over at SoundCloud/iPlayMusic and find my podcasting ventures over at audioblender.studio.
Awesome. If you find me, you can find me over at Twitter and Instagram with the tag NotRob. You can find me on Twitch streaming Hearthstone dungeon runs and a new Warlock deck that I actually went 10-2 with today on stream and killing it. It's awesome. That's over at twitch.tv/NotRobMay. If you guys want to find Hearthstone content, you can go find that at vellenschosen.com. We had a great interview with a female streamer named Mackenzie's or Mackenzie's, however you say it. She's a great person that actually has epilepsy, and it is the condition, not the disease. And she is not photosensitive, which is actually 5% of epileptics. So you'll have to listen to that interview. It's really cool. We talk about women in gaming. We talk about Hearthstone. We talk about the new expansion. And we also talk about diseases. So it's really cool stuff. Diseases and conditions. I need to parse that, or Mackenzie's will have in my head. So we'll see you guys on the next episode of Omnic Lab. We're still cooking up some cool stuff. And I just want to do it the disclaimer, if you're still listening and you're a patron or you're somebody in the Discord, shoot us an email, shoot us a message with something you've learned from Overwatch, about Overwatch, or something you've learned from Omnic Lab over the course of this last year that you wanted to say thank you or happy holidays to the community. We're going to do one of those episodes at the end of the year, and we want to do that for you, especially at the end of season 7. But remember, don't be a lab rat, be a scientist. Grab that meat on that Yeti hunter mode and freeze them Yetis. We'll see you guys next week.
See ya.